Yeah, good evening, students. Yeah, am I audible? Online students, please let me know. Please let me know fast so that we can start our class without wasting any time. Okay, what we discussed in yesterday's class. Anyone? Any new people who joined today? Please raise your hands. One, two, three. Okay, so you're new. Okay, so you guys who attended yesterday's class, please let me know what were the topics that we discussed. Online students, please be active. So we discussed about why to choose anthropology. Yes. So what are the advantages of choosing anthropology? So first one is syllabus is limited and you'll be getting questions which are repeated. And next advantage, scoring, static, and there is no need of updating your knowledge. There are very limited current affairs. Just you have to see two reports. One is Ministry of Tribal Affairs and next one is Zaza Committee report. And next we discussed about how the question paper pattern is, right? So we have paper 1 and paper 2. Each paper carries 250 marks. And how many answers you have to write? You have to write 5. Each question carries 50 marks. So you have choice in this, right? So first and fifth question is compulsory and remaining 3 questions you have to select from either of these sections, and you have to ensure that you are writing at least 2 answers from each and every section. And in first and fifth question they are compulsory and you are having 5 sub questions, your 10 marker, and remaining will be like 20 marker, 15 marker, 15 marker. So that thing we discussed, and we saw syllabus also, right? Okay, so open your syllabus copy and please see your second chapter. So in second chapter, in paper 1, we have 5 subtopics, right? So always we'll be starting with which topic in that? Marriage. After that, family. Next, kinship. Next, society. Next, culture. So in yesterday's class, I said I have PYQs of last 20 years. Yes, 20 to 25 years PYQs are there. So let us check whether the questions are coming from your syllabus or any out of syllabus question, so that you will be getting clarity like how you have to prepare. Clear? So in yesterday's class, we discussed about an overview of what is your second chapter, what is the overview of third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and till seventh chapter we saw overview, right? So now let us check whether the questions are coming from your syllabus or not. Everyone, do you have the syllabus copy? And for online students, I will be showing that syllabus on the screen itself. Okay, so open your syllabus copy, guys, and open your 2.3 marriage. Okay, open everyone and see your syllabus. In your 2.3, so we have definition and universality, first topic. Check once. Definition, universality. Next one is loss of marriage. That is endogamy, exogamy, hypergamy, hypogamy, incest, taboo. Next one is types of marriage and functions of marriage, marriage payments. So I'll give you a brief idea regarding what are the subtopics which are there in your marriage. Okay. So definition, keep it aside because we have to see like various anthropologists what they studied, in which areas they studied, and what they said. So let us keep it aside. And apart from that, let us see loss of marriage. So here in this keywords, you can see endogamy, exogamy, hypergamy, hypogamy, and incest taboo. So in all these words, there is one common word that you can see, that is called as gamy, right? So whenever you are reading anthropology, try to break the words and see meaning individually so that you can remember it for long duration, guys. So in this marriage, gamy means nothing but marriage. And what is the suffix here? Endo. So have you heard this word endo, exo? How many of you are from BPC background? +2 in inter. So in your intermediate, you will be coming across this endosperm. Yes or no? What is meaning of endo? inside, right? So here also endo means inside. So what is this inside marriage? Can anyone tell me? Marriage within that family, within that so and so group is called as endogamy. Is it commonly happening? Yes or no? So for example, if you take so and so Reddy caste people will be marrying Reddy caste only. That is called as endogamy. Okay. And next, there is one more word. You can see exo. Gami is common. Gami is nothing but marriage. So what is exo? Outside. Can you give me example of this outside marriages? Intercaste marriage. One caste person who is marrying another caste, it is called as exogamy. Okay. Sonia Gandhi. Okay, let it be. So we'll be talking about lots of examples in our actual classes. Okay, and one more example I'll give. Okay, so do you know clan? Gotra. Do you know this Gotra? What is this Gotra? Okay, having same surname is called as Gotra. That means if a boy and if a girl who are belonging to that same Gotra, what is the relationship between them? Brother and sister. Can we allow marriage between that same Gotra people? No, we'll go for exogamy in that. So one Gotra people will be marrying another Gotra people. That kind of marriage is called as exogamy. So we have lots of examples here. For example, Indians who are marrying other country people, that is also exogamy. And the Gotra people, they are not marrying that same Gotra people. So they will be going for other Gotra, it is exogamy. And even intercaste. Not only intercaste, but even interreligious. So you can say Muslims are marrying Hindus, Hindus are marrying Christians. So those kind of examples are exogamy. Okay, how many of you studied ancient history so far? Please raise your hands. Ancient history, okay. So in that ancient history, especially in this Vedic period, you will be coming across this Anuloma and Pratiloma. Have you heard this concept, Anuloma and Pratiloma? So what is this concept? Okay. So do you know about this honor killings? What is this honor killings? Very, very famous in AP, especially in this Rayalaseema belt. Yes or no? Honor killings. What is this honor killings? Okay, whenever woman, she is marrying lower caste person, that so-called woman family will attack that guy and they will kill them. So that is called as honor killing. Yes. So here in your syllabus you can see this word hypergamy and hypogamy. So these two are related to that. Okay. That is nothing but we'll take man. So why we'll take man? Because we are present in patriarchal society where we have male dominant society. So whenever we are taking any reference in anthropology, we'll take man. That is male gender. So whenever male who is marrying a female, high caste, that means low caste male marrying high caste female, this is called as hypergamy. Because we are taking reference as a male, whenever male who is marrying high caste woman, it is called as hypergamy. What is hypo? Reverse to this. That means high caste male marrying low caste female is called as hypogamy. Clear? Yeah? Okay, let me check. So what did I say? Hypergamy and hypogamy. Okay, so whenever man is high caste, it is called as hypergamy. Whenever man is low caste, it is called as hypogamy. Okay. So this is called as Anuloma and Pratiloma marriage. And the children they born to that, they also having certain names. Can anyone tell me? Someone is saying. Come on. Have you heard this? This is there in your ancient history. In Vedic period. Chandalas, very good. So the children who born to this hypergamy and hypogamy, they have name called as Chandalas. Okay, so this is there in your syllabus. And next one is incest taboo. Very, very important concept, and many times UPSC asked question regarding that. So what is this incest taboo? What is taboo? Have you heard this taboo? Taboo means? Taboo means nothing but ban. Okay. Incest, taboo means nothing but ban. And what is the word we hear? We have incest. Incest is nothing but sexual relations. Incest is nothing but sexual relations. So, who will be there in a family normally? Mother, father, son, daughter. So, this is a small family, small nuclear family. So, whenever we have sexual relations between mother and son, or daughter and father, or brother and sister, so whether these are acceptable in our societies? No, right? They are banned. So this is called as incest taboo. Incest taboo is nothing but the relations which are banned, especially sexual relations between the close family members. That is called as incest taboo. And regarding this, we have different theories, different examples why this incest taboo is banned. So can anyone tell me why this kind of sexual relations are banned in our families? Okay, moral ethics. Next. Think and tell me why these are banned. Okay, genetical mutations, very good. So if marriages are happening between very close kin, then what happen? It will lead to genetical abnormalities that you know. And online students, please tell me why this kind of sexual relations are banned. Come on, think and tell me. Is that kind of relations good? Will the family stability, can we ensure that family stability if you're having that kind of relations? No. Will people have security in that family? No. Will the people have proper cooperation between one and another? So family is nothing but why we need a family. We'll get support, we'll get coordination, everything. So if we have this kind of relations, so can we ensure coordination, cooperation between the people? No, right? And if we have this kind of relations, can we go for exogamy? Like going and marrying other people outside their family? No. So because of this, these kind of sexual relations are banned. So that is called as incest taboo. Okay. So is this good or bad? Incest taboo? Incest taboo is good, right? We are banning certain sexual relations. So what are the advantages of this incest taboo? Can anyone tell me what are the advantages? Ma'am can send us the PDF. So I will be sharing you the PDF. Actually, I'll be showing on the screen itself for today. After the starting of class, I'll be sharing there. Okay, I'll be checking with the sound. Okay, now tell me guys, what are the advantages of this end system? Stability, next. Security, good relations, and we can also decrease genetic diseases in the future generations. Model code of conduct, it is an ethic. Elections. You are in still polity class, come out of that. Next. Actually, do you know our economy, Indian economy is majorly agriculture economy or primary economy, right? In this agriculture, we need more helping hands. Yes or no? So if we don't have proper coordination support, can we do agriculture? For economy point of view also, we need this in system. Like that you have to see from all dimensions. And here you have to see like who are the anthropologists who studied about this in system, in which societies, everything. Okay. And next one here is types of marriages. Monogamy. Gamy means, as I said, marriage. Mono means single marriage. That means a person will be having a single wife throughout his lifetime. Okay, that means if wife died, then he can go for another marriage. Okay, so at a time he'll be having only one pair. And what about this polygamy? Poly means many. He can do many marriages. So in which societies we can say this polygamy? Okay, who can go for marrying of more? Muslim? Arab countries next? King. Okay, kings. Why? Why they go for many marriages? What is the reason? Have you ever think? Huh? Okay, for their next generation progeny. Okay, accepted. Next, expansion of kingdom. Okay, next. Huh? Status. Social status. Next. Come on, why people will go for marrying many people? What fear? Beauty. What is a beauty? Beauty of men or women? Men? Women? Strong person. Okay, to show his strength, he'll be marrying more women. Okay, accepted. Very good. Next, in tribal societies, it happens. Next. So, if he want to marry many women, so what is the criteria he need? If he is a beggar, can he marry 3 to 4 wives? Yes, more resources is required. Next. Not money in all cases. If he is hunting and gathering community, if he belongs to that, so money is not required. Okay, so in yesterday's class, we discussed about economic organizations, right? So how this economic organization had been evolved. Can anyone tell me that order? First is hunting and gathering. Next, pastoralism. Next, horticulture. Next, agriculture, industrialization. Now you are in this AI and machine learning era. So in all these economic activities, in which economic activity they can go for marrying of more women? Pastoralism, horticulture, agriculture, industrialization. Tell me. Agriculture, because they need more helping hands, more people in families required. So in agriculture they can go. Apart from that, is it happen in this hunting and gathering? Yes, if they hunt more, they will be having more resources so that they can feed their family children. They can go with that. Okay, what about this pastoralism? What is meaning of pastoralism? They have to rear animals and their economic activity is based on the milk products, everything. So do they need helping hands or not? So can a single person can he able to rear more than 100 animals like that? No, they need some helping hands. So in this pastoral societies also we can see this polygamy. So I want to tell you about one case study. So there is one tribe called as Maasai. Maasai tribe in Africa. They totally depend on pastoralism. And especially they live along one river. And actually they won't stay in one place not more than 3 months. For every 3 months they will be changing their residence because they have to rear animals. So they'll select one area and for 3 months they'll stay there and they complete every green thing which is present there by rearing their animals. And once they think that there is no fodder for their animals, they will shift on to another place of flat. So in that, actually, in these tribes we have certain political organizations that is nothing but head of that so and so group. In yesterday's class I said about band, tribe, chiefdom and state, right? So in this Maasai they have bands. So the head of this person can marry more than 20 or 30 people. So that is there. Okay, they want more helping hands and even they want more progeny for developing of their family, everything, so that they'll go for polygamy. So like that we'll be seeing lots of case studies in which tribe we have which kind of marriage. and why they do that kind of marriage. Everything have a reasons, right? Everything happens for a reason. Without reason, nothing will happen. So here, why they are marrying only one person? Do you know Eskimos? Have you heard about this Eskimos? Where they live? That means normal in polar regions they live. So what is their occupation? Which kind of animals they found in this polar region? Fishing. So they'll not focus on hunting, they'll go for fishing. Okay, so what is the climate in this Arctic region or like Antarctic region, especially in this polar region? 6 months they will be getting sunlight and 6 months they don't get sunlight. Yes or no? Why? Because of tilt of our earth. What is the degree of tilt? Okay, so because of that tilt, for 6 months they will be getting sunlight and for 6 months they will be not getting sunlight. So during the sun, if they get sunlight, what is the water? Water will be present in liquid form only. So what happens if they're not getting sunlight? Water will be converted into solid form. That means nothing but ice will be there. So if you see YouTube reels, mostly you can see this oceans will become like a top layer of this ocean will be converted into ice and they will be walking. Yes or no? So at that time, can they focus on hunting? So sorry, fishing. Then what about their food? Yes. So one advantage of this fishing is they can dry them and they can store. That means they are having resources only 6 months in a year, and remaining 6 months they don't have proper resources to feed their families. So can they go for polygamy there? They'll go for monogamy. Okay, because they can't survive, and actually there will be lots of stress conditions will be faced by male in that Eskimo family. Okay, so like that we have to see what is the reason why they're going for monogamy, why they're going for polygamy. And in this polygamy also we have two types. Polygamy also we have two types. One is polyandry, one is polygyny. Now you guys tell me, poly means nothing but many. What is andry? It is related to male or female? Male or female? Gynecology is related to female. Polygyny is related to female. So here in this polyandry, women will be marrying more men. Women will be having more husbands. So what happens in this polygyny? Men will be having more number of wives. Now you guys tell me, in which society this polyandry is possible? We know about polygyny. So everyone will be knowing about that. One setup in one village, one setup is another village. So like that they can maintain good number of wives. Okay, so let us keep it aside. But this is something interesting, right? Polyandry. So now you guys tell me, in which kind of societies is polyandry is possible? Tribals. What is the criteria that we have to meet there? More number of women or less number of women? Okay. So if we take any group, if in this group more male are there and very less females are there, so in that condition, they'll go for marrying of more than one man, more than one husband they'll be having. That is called as polyandry. So now you guys, based on your knowledge, tell me why there is less number of female there. Why there is less number of female in that group? Killing of women. Yes, that is called as, have you heard this word? Female feticide. Female feticide, it is very quite common. So whenever a woman, she is giving delivery, after delivery of a baby, if they found that baby is girl child, so just they'll take one grain of paddy and just they will drop in the mouth of that baby. So what happens? Choking. Choke is nothing but that baby cannot breathe properly. So because of that, that baby will die. And even you will be surprising that in that post-mortem reports cannot, in that post-mortem also they can't identify what is the real reason of the death of that baby. So have you heard about this? In many movies also they will be showing this, right? So just they will be dropping one this seed or one grain of this paddy, and just they'll keep in the mouth. So within minutes the baby will die, and even we can't know what is the exact reason, even doctors. Okay, so why this female feticide is there? Why this female feticide? Online guys, why this female feticide? Yes, patriarchy society. Next, have you heard this word son meta preference? What is this? Son meta preference. Always there will be preference for a boy child compared to that of a girl child, right? So because of this female feticides will happen. So in a society, if there is son meta preference and if there is more female feticides, the number of girl child who are surviving is less. So that in that group there will be less number of females. So they'll go for marrying of more husbands. This kind of marriage is called as polyandry. Clear? And you know about this polygamy. And next, see here group marriage. Very, very interesting topic. So what is this group marriage? Group marriage. Any idea? At least guess. Not exactly. Okay. So I said about this pastoralism, right? So what is pastoralism? Moving from one place to another place for rearing of animals. Okay. So whenever this group is moving to another place, if there is already one group which is living there, which is surviving in that place, if this new group is going there, will these people allow these people to stay in that region, especially in tribes? Will they allow? No. At that time, what happened? These people will go with group, entire this group will be married to this group. Okay, for sharing of resources. This kind of marriage is called as group marriage. Clear? Have you understood this? So this will be commonly seen in this pastoral groups for resource sharing. Clear? And see the next one here, functions of marriage. So we have marriage regulations. So in this marriage regulations, we have three types: preferential, prescriptive, and proscriptive. So what is preferential? I prefer. What is the meaning of prefer? Choice. Okay. Okay. So I'll tell about these regulations. Preferential marriages. So normally, which marriages are preferred in the families? Do you know about this cross cousin marriages? Baba and Mardal. They are normally accepted in the families, and even Mama Kodal, especially in South India. In Telugu states, it is common. Mama and Kodal, Menamama and Menakodal marriage. So they are normally preferential marriages, which are normally accepted in the families. Okay, and next one is prescriptive. Prescriptive is nothing but we have certain rules and regulations that we have to follow. Like whenever you are seeing matches. So do you have experience of searching brides and bridegrooms? No one? Okay, in future. Okay, so let us keep it aside. And this one is proscriptive. Proscriptive means nothing but preventive marriages. So which marriages are prevented in our society? Same Gotra marriages are prevented, right? So have you seen this? There will be one movie. In that movie, a boy and girl, they will be in relation, love, everything. Then what happened? That boy will bring that girl to the family and he will introduce that girl to the family. And whenever that so and so boy's mother, whenever she is talking to her, to that girl, she knows that she is belonging to that same Gotra. So till then, they enjoyed the life, but from that minute onwards, he has to call him like sister. Yes or no? Do you know this? That means that kind of marriages are normally preventive in our society. That is same Gotra marriages, because same Gotra people will become sister and brother, right? And next one here is, as I said, incest taboo is also banned. Yes or no? Have you ever seen daughter marrying father? Have you ever seen mother marrying son? Have you ever seen brother marrying sister in that same family? So in Muslim, brother will marry sister, but it is outside that family. It's not in that same family. Okay. So in this way, what are the rules we have? How we are regulating marriages in our families? They are called as marriage regulations. And next one here is very much famous, marriage payments. So whenever you are giving any invitation card to any of your relatives, first question what they'll ask, what is the dowry? How much you are giving dowry? Okay, so what is dowry? Who will give in general? Boys family will take this dowry from girls family. Okay, why we have to give dowry? Why women need to give dowry? Guys, you tell me now. What is the tradition? Taking of dowry? You are selling yourself. Yes, madam. Yes, madam. So why you have to take dowry, boys? Huh? Job? Recovery for what? Safety and security feeling for what? You're taking dowry, but why you're taking dowry? I want a reason. Cultural practice. Next. Social status. For social status, you're accepting dowry. Okay. Apart from that, online students, please tell me why you're taking dowry. Transferring of responsibility. Responsibility of that woman. Okay. You're feeling that woman is burden to you, so you're taking dowry, right? Uh, uh, mm. Okay. Next. Taking dowry is crime. Taking dowry is crime, but taking half property is right. Okay, so why people will give dowries? First one is, as you said, social status, and next one here is, normally in our families, will parents will give half property to girls? That rule is there, but is it happening practically? No. That means you are giving certain amount as a security for a girl from their parents, not for you guys. But yeah, last you will only take that, but they are giving for security for women actually. And next one here is, now onwards it is responsibility of you to take care of your wife. For example, hospital, for example, clothes, whatever she wants, it is now your responsibility. It is not their parents' responsibility. Okay, so because of that they'll give dowry. And even, have you ever seen, whenever any woman, she is bringing more dowry compared to that of earlier person, what about the status? Respect, for respect. Okay, she'll take she parents will give dowry. Okay, and next, opposite to this, we have one more payment called as bride wealth. Have you heard this bride wealth? What is this bride wealth? Boys have to give money to parents of girl. That is kanya. In Telugu we'll call it as kanya shulkam. And even some tribal people, they are following this bride wealth. Okay, so why they have to give bride wealth, boys to girls family? Edurkatnam. It is not like Edurkatnam, it is bride wealth, because you are taking her to your family, so you have to pay compensation to the girl's family. That is called as bride wealth. So you have to see the concepts clearly, and in which societies we have this dowry, in which societies we have bride wealth, and what are the advantages, disadvantages, who studied all these things. And next, have you seen this movie Bommarilu, especially in Telugu? Telugu States, very old movie. But so in that you will be saying one, at last you will be saying this in the climax. This, who is that hero name? Siddharth. Siddharth will be going to this Genelia's family, and he'll be saying that I will be also doing service. So actually, in this marriage payment, which is not given in the syllabus, that is called as suitor service. Suitor service is nothing but if a girl or if a boy wants to marry opposite gender, so they will be going to that family and they will do service there, and they will satisfy the parents and they will be getting married. That kind of service is called a suitor service. It will happen before marriage. Okay. Yeah. So this is about an overview of your marriage chapter. So now let us see how the questions are coming from this. Okay, I have the list of questions from 1985 onwards. From 1985 till 2024. But in 2024, there was no question from this marriage 2.1. Okay, so see here. Role of marriage regulations. So we have 3 regulations: preferential, prescriptive, and proscriptive, directly from your syllabus. Next one is marriage regulations and alliance theory. We will be discussing that when we have our classes. And next one is very, very important topic, that is ways of acquiring mate. So how we'll get our mate? What are the process that we'll follow normally? So first one is our relatives plays a very important role, right? So especially if a girl beautifully, if she is a very beautiful girl, and if she is attending any marriage or any social functions, everything, so what happens? They'll come gossips when she will be getting married, when your parents will be getting married. So the hot topic will be this only. Yes or no? Especially if you go and if you attend any social functions or social gatherings, everything. So this will be the hot topic. And they will bring this kind of matches. Yes or no? So through kinship or through relatives, we will be getting matches. Apart from that, we have marriage bureaus nowadays. Yes or no? Boys with government job. Same problem. Okay, not only girls. Okay. Okay, we'll talk about boys later on. So normally how we can get this matches? First one is through relatives. And next? Matrimonies. Next? Okay, third person mediator. Next? Self. Love marriage, self. Next? Kidnap. What is this movie? Prakash Raj. Not Arjun. Okadu. Prakash Raj will be kidnapping this Bhumika and taking away for getting married, right? By capture. Marriage is happening through capture, yes or no? They'll kidnap and they'll go and they'll get married. And next, elopement. By eloping. Eloping is nothing but? Very good. So you know that. You're very good at that. Okay, so these are the different ways through which marriage happens. And especially in tribals, we'll see this marriage by capture commonly. So especially if they like anyone, they'll go and they'll tell to their family members, and they'll go and they'll capture that person, and later on they'll be getting married. So I'll be showing one documentary. Are you interested to see that documentary? Yes? Fights will happen. Next one is again, they asked about different forms of preferential marriages. And this one is define marriage, various types of marriages, polygamy, endogamy, exogamy, hypergamy. And this one is about taboo, incest taboo. Next one is the ways of acquiring spouse in simpler societies. Next, incest taboo. And this one is what are the various ways of getting mate. And next one here is problem of this definition of marriage and different forms of marriage. If you say at least till 2013, it is enough. Okay, so the questions will be from your syllabus. There will be no question out of your syllabus case. And one more thing I will show you. Yeah, so this is the blueprint that I said. Let us see 2.1. So 2.3. So here it is from 2013 to 2024. So you'll be getting 30, 15, 15, 10, 10, 20, 20 marker question in this area. Okay, so based on that you can prepare, and you can actually, there are certain topics where questions will ask in a cyclical manner. If you see this, you will be getting every time question from this 2.3 1 year after another year. So here last year there was no question, 2024, and 2025 for sure there will be question in this area. So in this way, if you have this blueprint, you can make your own blueprint of that year question paper for sure, and that will work, guys. Okay, so this is about your marriage. And now I'll tell about how you have to write answers in your anthropology. Okay, answer writing is very important. How many of you started answer writing for your GS? Outsiders? Online students, how many of you have this habit of writing answers? No one. You didn't started it? So when did you start your preparation? Outsiders? When did you started your preparation? Huh? April. Okay. Apart from this, who had completed their foundation course? Have you started answer writing? Okay. Have you wrote all these PYQs? No. So which questions are you practicing now? GS1. Have you started PYQs? Then? Okay. So many of you are new for this answer writing, guys. Yes, apart from foundation, guys. So normally answer will be written in this format, IBC. And whenever you are writing your GS answers and whenever you are writing your optional, you have to show difference between that GS and as well as optional for sure, guys. Okay. So as I said, you will be having 10 marker questions, 15 marker questions, and 20 marker questions. Yes. So here 10 marker question answer should be written in 2 sides of your paper. That is the space which is given normally, and within that 2 sides of paper you have to complete your answer. Mostly it will be like 150 words. And for 15 marker you have to write answer in 3 sides. And for 20 markers you will be having 4. So this is the normal space which is allotted in your UPSC based on the word limit. Okay, so this thing you have to follow strictly. If you are answering 20 marker, you have to complete in 4 sides, 15 marker 3 sides, and 10 marker 2 sides only. And we will be following this IBC format. So whenever you are writing your anthropology introduction, first you can write definition. First area that you can see is definition. Okay, for example, if they gave any word regarding incest taboo, so how can you write introduction? What is incest taboo? And examples of which kind of sexual relations have been banned. Okay, first area is this one, and second area is you can directly use anthropologist name. You can take directly name of that anthropologist who did study in that area, along with publication or book he wrote, and what is his idea. So this is second way. Okay, first one is definition, second one is name, book, and as well as idea that you have to write. Okay, and if it is in current affairs, mostly you won't get current affairs. So if you are getting any current affairs, you will be getting from science and technology. That is from your biology part, you will be getting current affairs. So you can add that current affairs. In these 3 ways, you can write your introduction for your anthropology, guys. Okay, and next one is body. Body is similar. How you are writing your GS answers in the same way. while you're addressing the sub question, you have to keep the side heading. Okay, you can use side headings, and under that you can give points. Or here, if you are keeping against, keep side heading, and you can explain like this. It is your wish, this or this, it will works for your anthropology. And here in your body, validation part is very important. So without validation, you will not get good marks in your anthropology. In GS, even though if you are not good at validation, you will be getting minimum 30% marks. But anthropology, it is not that case. You have to include validation. So what is the validation part here? You have to include anthropologist and their studies, in which area they did, and what is the conclusion of that so-and-so study. So first validation is this thing, anthropologist and their study, and as well as conclusion. For example, if you are writing about ways of acquiring mate, so in that you can write matrimony, and we have lots of matrimony things, examples that you can write from your state. Like that you have to give example. For example, if you are writing about capture, marriage by capture, the documentary that you have seen in Garo Hills of Meghalaya, there is a village dedicated to this capture. Okay, like that. You can write, the next one is case studies. You can write case studies. Case studies are nothing but in which tribe, what they are doing. So here in this marriage by capture, that's just now I showed you one case study. There is a thing that you can explain there within 3 to 4 lines. That is the second important thing. And next one is, if possible, you can use maps. Especially in our paper 2, which is about Indian anthropology, you can draw maps. There is a high chance of drawing maps. And next one is, you can come up with your own flow charts. For example, in yesterday's class, I discussed about economic organization, right? I gave you one flow chart regarding how this economic organizations evolved. For example, hunting and gathering, pastoralism, agriculture, industrialization, AI. So like that, you can use that kind of flow charts. Okay. And next one is, in your biology part, if you want to improve your presentation, if you want to get more marks, you can use diagrams. Okay. So these are the validation parts. Apart from that, whenever you are writing any answer regarding tribal anthropology or regarding tribes, we have Ministry of Tribal Affairs report. There, what are the data that you are collecting there, you can use that. Okay. So this is about your validation. Without this validation, you can't get good marks. Remember this. Okay. And conclusion will be like normally sum up. Only if you're talking about any problem, there you can give way forward. So way forward or conclusion, based on the demand of question, you can select, okay, in that examination hall. So in this way, you have to write your answers. And next one here is, we have paper 1 and paper 2, right? So in this paper 1 and paper 2 also, you need to show difference. So how can you show difference? Paper 1 is related to general anthropology and paper 2 is related to Indian anthropology, right? So how can you show difference in your answers? Online students, tell me, how can you show differences in your answer? Is it possible? How? Yes, we have to take examples from our India only, not outside India. Next. Yes, mapping you can do. Next. Can you add schemes, policies related to our country itself? Yes. So there is a chance of adding schemes and policies. Next. You can also add data of India. So in this way, you have to show difference between your paper and paper 2. And paper 2 is very scoring, guys, because you already read current affairs and you will be already having list of schemes. That is a part of your governance. And even you will be collecting data. If you are reading current affairs, you will be seeing lot of data. So you are already well versed with this. So it is very scoring. And if you want to get more marks in this paper one, you have to focus on again value addition. So the points I said earlier, you have to focus on that. So if you work very hard, then there is a chance of getting more than 330 for sure. So normally you can get on average 260 to 275. It is possible with very minimal effort. But if you want to get your priority service and if you want to get your expected rank, then you have to do some additional work. So additional work that you have to focus on value addition is. And now I'll tell how you have to read anthropology. So first one, concept clarity is very important. So you can't just go and mug up the things for sure. So first one is you need to understand the concept clearly. Concept clarity is at most. Without conceptual clarity, you can't write answers, guys. Okay. And next one here is you have to make your notes for sure. Without notes, it won't possible. Because what is the time that you will be having between your prelims and mains normally? 3 months. Actually, it is decreasing. This year we have only 87 days. So whenever the time is decreasing, you are already having a lot of burden, right? You have to do your optional, you have to do your compulsory. So we will be doing that compulsory language at that time only. We will be not bothering about that before our prelims and during our preparation, right? So only after clearing of our prelims, only we will be focusing on this thing, that is compulsory language paper. And we have to do our essay. And many students will start essay and ethics at that time. Yes or no? So essay and ethics, you have to do GS1, GS2, GS3, and you have to do your PYQs, you have to focus on value addition, and you have to focus on current affairs, because 80% of questions will be from your current affairs, from GS3, GS4, and as well as GS2. So you're already having a lot of burden. In that time, if you want to make notes, it won't possible. So while you are taking your classes, while you are preparing clearly, then at that time only you have to make your clear-cut notes. So what should be there in your notes is, first one is definitions, and second one is anthropologist and their studies. Next one is, wherever it is possible, try to make your notes in flowchart manner. Flowcharts. And next one is efficient mapping is required, especially in your paper 2. And next one is note down the data there itself. Note down the data. And next one is diagrams. And related examples and case studies should be there itself. So all these are the pointers that you have to remember while you are making notes. First one, definition. Without definition, you can't start your answer. And you need anthropologist for sure. And next one is flowcharts. Next one is mapping, diagrams, data, examples, and case studies. They are very, very important. And these all should be there in your notes. And your notes should be very, very crisp. Why? So what is the time between one exam and another exam of your mains? So you have to write optional, right? Paper 1 in the morning and paper 2 in the evening. Yes or no? So what is the time that you will be having in between apart from your lunch? Apart from your lunch, you have to do lunch also. Without lunch, you can't sit for 3 hours. Without proper lunch and energy, your brain will not think and your hand will not move. So you have to take lunch for sure. Okay. So you'll be having 45 minutes to 50 minutes max if you take that lunch within 10 to 15 minutes. Because beside your examination center, we won't find proper hotels. We have to, here and there, we have to waste at least 15 minutes of time to search hotels itself, right? So for that, if you're having a very crisp notes, in that 40 minutes, you have to just go with a quick, fast revision. So for that, you need to have that much very crisp notes. And your notes should not be more than 100 pages for paper 1 and 100 pages for your paper 2. So when you can make that kind of crisp notes, can you do that in first reading? Can you do that in second reading? Can you do that in third reading? So when you can make this kind of very crisp notes is, first you have to do the concepts and in the classes. In classes, they will be giving you the class notes. Read these class notes and later on do your PYQs, at least 5 years for sure. And I will be giving you the blueprint so that you can try to make the expected questions, list of expected questions. And on that, you can make that very crisp notes of 100 pages. Then it is possible to write each and every points without missing anything so that you can score more than 300 plus guys. And extensive practice is very important. Every day you have to write answers. Okay, so before making your notes, at least once you have to complete your full length test for sure. And you have to sit for 3 hours and you have to write that entire paper in that 3 hours. Especially during this time, prelims to mains, you have to do at least 10 full length tests of paper 1 and paper 2 so that your mind will be accepting that and you will be also not ignoring that wasting of time in examination hall. So if you are even wasting half minute of time also, you will be losing marks case because very low time and more questions, lengthy paper obviously. Okay, if you're not having all these things, it is impossible to complete paper within 3 hours. So that examination hall will recall my words for sure if you're not doing all these things. Okay, and next one, do you know the book list? Anyone? So which are the books that you have to follow for anthropology? Any idea? Online students? Okay, Ember and Ember. Next. Demystified anthropology, it is not sufficient guys. Next. Nadeem Hasnain. Okay, so I'll tell. So if you want, you can make a note guys. So first one here is we have biological or physical anthropology, right? So for this you have P. Nath book. Only one book is sufficient. Don't buy unnecessary books and just keep in your rack. So if you see that, you will be getting fear that I have to complete all these books, I don't have time, so when should I do? And you will be postponing your attempt. So don't do that. So try to keep very limited books with you guys. So first one is for biological or physical anthropology, P. Nath. And for anthropological theories, you can take Makenja or Ember and Ember, it's fine. Ember and Ember book for your thought. Yeah. And next one is we have Indian anthropology. For that, Nadeem Hasnain, very good book. And for your tribal India regarding tribes, also the same book, Nadeem Hasnain. And for socio-cultural anthropology, you can do this book by Majumdar and Madan. For your socio-cultural anthropology, you can see this Majumdar and Madan book. And apart from that, you have to see these 2 things. Ministry of Tribal Affairs report. And next one is Zaza report. So these are the normal book list. But in my class, I'll give A to Z. No need of referring any books. And if you want to see how to write introduction, body and conclusion, so you can take this book of Akshat Jain that is called as Anthropology Demystified. But content is very less in that. Content is not sufficient because actually we have a human tendency. What is that? If you read 2 pages or 3 pages and if you go to examination hall, how many pages will you represent? 1 or half page or 1.5. So as answers which are given in that book are like half page. If you rely on that, you'll go to examination hall and you will not write completely. So that is the reason why we'll not refer that because it is it is having very less content. So you can't remember everything and you can't represent everything in the examination hall. So for that you have to make your own notes guys. Okay, just for seeing of the format, it's okay. to make your ready-made introduction, to make your ready-made conclusion, you can refer that book. So how you can write an answer. That is Anthropology Demystified by Akshat Jain book. Okay, so this is your book list. Yeah. So I'll show you this blueprint and I'll show how you have to use this. So this society, this is 2.2, and in this year, more or less every year the question is coming. So you should not leave any topic in the society chapter. That is 2.2. And next I said about marriage, right? And in this culture also, from last 3 years, every year the question is coming. You have to see that. And yeah, this is very, very important. That is kinship. In the kinship chapter, every year almost the question came. Only in 2020, they skipped the question. So every year you will be getting question here and you have to prepare this kinship chapter wisely. Okay, so like that I give everything in this blueprint. The chapter you can leave is classical evolutionism. Only in 2015 there was one question and remaining no question from that area. So in that way you can prepare, and even functionalism also there is no question. Okay, from theories you will be getting like 3 to 4 questions, not more than that, and we have 12 theories. So every year we can't expect question from that so and so topic. So based on that you have to show your intelligence, smart work in this way. So everyone will be saying that not hard work, smart work, right? So what is the smart work? This is the smart work. So you have to expect the things, you have to guess which topic from which you can get question. So if you are getting any question from that topic, how you have to maximize your score. Okay, so that is called as smart work, and you have to work smartly for this anthropology. Okay. Yeah, this is also very, very important. That is 8th chapter, that is research methods in anthropology. So every year you will be getting questions from this area. You should not leave this chapter. Very, very simple. Okay, so open your syllabus copy. And in last class we did till, okay, in last class we discussed till 7th chapter, right? So we did with the 2nd chapter, economic organization, political organization. We did with religion. We did with theories. And next one is culture, language and communication we did. And now let us see this 8th chapter. 8th chapter is nothing but research methods in anthropology. Okay, so how can a person do a research? Have you ever seen any podcast of an anthropologist, how they do study, everything? Anyone? Do you have any interest in watching? Anyone? Do you have this hobby of watching podcast? No one? Yes or no? Okay, which kind of podcast normally do you watch? Hmm? Which kind? Related to technology. Okay, do you have experience of watching this anthropologist related podcast? Anyone? Huh? Okay. So actually what this anthropologist will do, so whenever they have to do any work, they have to, if they want to study any group of people, what they do, they go to the area where these people will live, and that person will try to mingle in that society, and he starts collecting data, right? So that is called as this research methods. So which kind of research methods that we will use, especially anthropologists will use while studying this tribals, that is called as this research methods. So actually we have a tradition called as field work tradition. So what is called as field work? Anyone from BTech background here? Many of you. So in your last final year, last 6 months, what will you do? Project work or internship. So will you do that on your own? You'll go to one company? Yes or no? You'll go to one company, just you'll pay some money and you'll bring that project and you'll show in your college. Is that happening on reality? Yes or no? I'm talking reality. I will talk only reality in my class. I won't buff students. Okay. So here what these people will do is they have to go to that area and they have to study the tribes and they have to collect real data from them, and after that they have to publish books. That's the thing that they do, right? And actually why these people wants to study these tribals, why we have to study these tribals, what is the need, what is the necessity? Yes, honest students, tell me why we have to study these tribals.
future, for the sake of future.
For sake of future, can you elaborate on this?
అంటే పాస్ట్ నుంచి ఇప్పుడు హ్యూమన్ ఎలా డెవలప్ అయ్యారు ఎలా ఎవాల్వ్ అయ్యారని తెలుసుకుంటే మన ఫ్యూచర్ లో కూడా
Mm-hmm. Okay, can anyone tell me why we want to study tribals? What's the reason?
to know their culture,
To know
their culture.
agriculture, culture. Okay, next. Anyone? Last, guys. Tell me why we want to study these tribals.
మనకి టాలెంట్ రీసెర్చ్ లో డిసీజెస్ లో జెనెటిక్ ఎడిటింగ్ చేసి
Hmm? Okay. So if you want to study about you in past, can you go back in time machine? So there will be one movie, there will be one time machine, they will sit in that time machine and they'll go back to past. So do we have that kind of technology now? If you want to study our past, how humans got evolved, everything, we don't have that, right? It was there only on this silver screen, but not in our real life, right? So if you want to study about our past, how these humans got evolved, so if we study these tribals, till now some tribals, they are very much attached to nature and they are underdeveloped stage, yes or no? That means if we go and if we study them, we'll get some clues of how human got evolved, how the development is happening in these humans. So because of this, yes, we are going back and we are studying these tribals so that at least we will be getting some clues of our evolution. Okay, I want to ask one question. Do humans know fire? So during which period we know fire in humans? Especially humans started using of fire during which period? From Stone Age. And you will be surprised that how we can produce fire at that time. How early man used to produce fire? By rubbing two rocks. Yes. And even if you go to some African tribes, till now they use this kind of primitive methods. They don't use this lighters or like matchbox. They won't use this. They use traditional methods. So if you study that kind of tribes, we will be knowing about how humans got evolved and so which kind of practices we used to have earlier. So for that only we study tribes. Okay. Okay. And next one here is how we can collect data. How can we collect data of people?
సర్వే
By surveying. Okay, next. So if you want to collect data of certain things, how can you collect data? So here we are using different data collection, like, so we can go there and we can observe that what is happening there, and we'll come back and we can write something what we have observed. That is called as observation method. So it is one of the efficient tool for collecting of data. And this one is we have interview, yes or no? So through interviews, even in your UPSC also you have this stage, final stage, that is interview or personality test. They will be collecting data about you. First they will be asking about questions regarding your DAF and your name, your basic data, education details, everything. If you have any job experience, what is your job experience, which kind of work that you did. So by asking questions, they will analyze that whether you are suitable for that job or not. Yes, in that way they are collecting data. And next one is schedules. Schedules and questionnaires. So if you go to any supermarket, sometimes they will ask you to fill certain forms. Yes or no? Have you did this? And after that they'll start calling you and they won't leave you. That is the second part. But sometimes if you go to any area, they will ask you to fill certain details. Yes or no? Have you seen this movie Mr. Perfect? In that Mr. Perfect also, Prabhas and Tapsi, they will be filling one form and they'll become the best. What is that title? I can't recall that title. For Cadbury chocolate opening, they will be giving one title, best made for each other. Okay, so they filled a questionnaire. Okay, they filled a questionnaire. So questionnaire is nothing but they will have the list of questions and you will be filling on your own. And now census is going on. Yes or no? Census, which we are going to get entire data by 2027. So this census, who will collect data? Anganwadi people or some volunteers or government teachers? Huh? Who will be there collecting the data? Who will collect the data? Teachers, government officials, volunteers, especially Anganwadi people. So they'll collect data. That means they will ask questions and whatever the answers you are saying, just they will fill the form. Yes or no? They are called as schedules. So especially whenever you are going to any tribal area, if you give questionnaires, will that work? If you give the list and fill this form, if you say like this, can they fill this form? Because they are illiterate. So in that area, which will work? Schedules will work. That means you will be asking questions and what are the data that you are getting, just you will go on filling in that form. That is called as schedules. And this one is case study. That means we are going for in detail study of that so and so thing so that we can get good information about that. And next one is genealogy. Have you seen this movie Seven Sins? Who is heroine? Who is hero? Okay. What Shruti Hassan does in that movie? What is the role of that person? Yeah. She is genetic engineering student. So there will be one clip in that movie. I don't know whether you can recall that right now or not. She will be going to Surya's family members and she will be collecting the DNA, hair, everything. Okay. And she will be also drawing this kind of diagram. Bodhidharma, his wife, family members, family tree. So this family tree is called as genealogy. So if you want to study any genetic disorder, okay, so we will be tracing that who in that family having that disorder. So if you have any genetic disease, if you go to any hospital, what sugar? Okay, so if you have the sugar also, like diabetes mellitus, if you go to any hospital, they'll ask one question: who in your family have this disease? Yes or no? Father or mother or grandmother or grandparents, paternal side, that is father's side or mother's side, who have this disease. That means we will be drawing this family tree and we will be tracing back from where this got. Yes or no? This is called as genealogy. Through this method also, we can collect data of the people who are having these genetic diseases. Why? Because normally in tribes, they'll go for inside marriage. For example, normally in our society now, Telangana people are marrying Karnataka people. Telangana people are marrying like North people. It is happening, right? But what is happening in tribe? Can they come out of their society and can they marry other people? Will mainstream society accept them? So they'll go for marrying inside them. So generational marriages are going on. So because of this, do they have chances of genetic diseases or not? There is a very high chance of genetic diseases in them. So if you want to study about that and if you want to collect this data regarding the genetic diseases in these tribes, we'll use this method called as genealogy. That is nothing but family tree. Clear? And next one is life history. So through this method, can we collect the data or not? Yes, normally we can get lots of books of life histories and through that we can collect the data. And next one is oral history. What is oral history? Once upon a time there was a king and king have seven sons. They went to forest and they bought 7 fishes. That is oral story. Okay, that is nothing but the history is passed from one generation to another generation through stories. So in which people we have this oral history? In the area where if there is no literacy, if they don't have any script to write, They will save their knowledge, they'll save their history through these stories. That is called as oral history. So have you heard this Pedrasi Peddamma stories? That is also oral history only. So we don't know whether that so and so was there or not. But this tradition is passing from one person to another person through mouth. That is called as oral history. So if you go to these tribal areas, actually these people, they don't have the script. Normally many tribal people, they don't have literacy, they don't have script. So if you want to know about their story, they will tell something, we will make a note of something, and we will do something. Yes or no? That is called as oral history. And next one is, we have also secondary sources of information. So what are secondary sources of information? Any idea? Online students? Already we have ready-made books of it. For example, people have a habit of writing diaries. That is already written. So you will be taking that and you will be studying that. So secondary source are nothing but already ready-made notes, either books or either any documentaries or either photos or either diaries. We will be getting that and we will be studying that. That is called as secondary sources. And we have participatory methods. So we will make people to participate. For example, do you know this Gram Sabha? Have you heard this word Gram Sabha? What is this Gram Sabha? Huh? What is this Gram Sabha? Gram Sabha includes voters of that so and so village, right? So whenever these Gram Sabha meetings are happening, then what happens? So people will raise their voice and they'll say about what problems they have. And if they're getting any funds, they'll decide in them like in which area they have to spend their funds, like education or sanitation or water, schools, hospitals, whatever it may be. So in this participatory model, we will allow people to participate and they will be talking about their problems. They will be telling about solutions, everything, and we'll collect that data. So these are the different tools of data collection, and that's very important topic is. And you have to add examples there. And next one is, what are the data we collected? We'll do analysis, interpretation, presentation. You are very good in that. So engineering, after your project submission, we'll be taking one recorder. What do you call it? Document? What is that? Report book. What is that? Project report. That means you will be giving a detailed report of what is that made up of, what are the instruments they used, what is the process of working, what is the principle which is there. Okay, next. Finally, you will be presenting that data in the form of graphs, or you will use diagrams, pie charts, everything, right? So this is about your research fieldwork or research methodology. First, an anthropologist will go to tribal area and he'll start fieldwork, and later on he'll start collecting of data, and he can use all these methods whichever it is possible there based on his study. And later on, what are the data he collected, he will analyze the data, interpret that data, presentation of data. So this is very important chapter where you can get every year one question, guys. So 15 to 30 marks weightage. Okay, next one is our 9th chapter. Entire 9th chapter, 10th chapter, 11th. 3 chapters are related to biology. Only these 3 chapters. 9th chapter is lengthy. Okay, it will take some time. So we'll spend a lot of time in this 9th chapter. And 10th chapter will be very easy. So if you have grip on this 9th, this 10th chapter will be very easy. It is about human growth. So how the growth is happening. So in how many stages the growth will happen. And we'll be studying about, this is a general topic. What are the factors which affect your growth, development? Okay, what is growth and what is development? Is those two words same? What is growth and what is development?
Growth refers to quantity, development refers to quality.
Yes, growth refers to quantity and development refers to quality. Growth is nothing but increasing of size, but development is nothing but overall improving of your performance. Okay, so what are the factors which affect your growth and development? So actually growth, some people will be very tall, some people will be very short, some people will be fat, some people will be thin. Why? What are the reasons? Genetical reasons. If the father and mother, how they are, so based on that, my father is very thin, I am also very thin. Even how much I eat, I will be like this only. So normally after pregnancy, every woman will face this, that is increasing of body size. But I have twins with this personality. But I didn't increase my size. In fact, I decreased 17 kgs after my pregnancy. It is a very, very rare because of my genetic makeup, everything. And next one here is even environment. Do it have impact? In which area you are developing or you are staying in which area you are growing up, it is also having very impact. For example, recently there is one study in current affairs that studies if you are living in highly polluted area. For example, if you are growing up in this Delhi, your body weight is more or less. You will be lean. Why? Because we take oxygen. Respiration is nothing but taking in and releasing out of. Taking in fresh air and releasing out bad air is called as respiration. And for functioning of each and every cell of our body, we need oxygen, right? Oxygen is very important. So if there is no proper oxygen content in air that you are taking, instead of oxygen, if you are taking more pollutants into your body, will your body functions normally? If you're comparing a person who is living in very fresh environment, like for example you can take forest area, he will be getting very pure air compared to the person who is growing up in very polluted area like Delhi. So whatever the air he is taking, this air will be having more oxygen content, and whatever the air this person is taking will be having less oxygen content. So whenever there is less oxygen content, your cells will be compromising or not. So whenever your cells are compromising, do they develop in the normal stage? No. Obviously that will lead to decreasing of your body weight. And next, one more study they said was especially pregnant women, whenever she is staying in this highly polluted area, so whatever the baby which is there in that fetus will have low birth weight. It is a recent study. That means we can say that the environment where we are living in, it is having impact on our growth. Okay, like that you have to add some examples that you see in your news. Very less. Okay. And next one here is like that biochemical. That means whatever the nutrition that you are taking, do we have that impact? Yes or no? Obviously, we'll take some examples there. And next one is socio-economic conditions. If you are living, or if you are from rich family and if you are from poor family, do it have impact on your growth and development or not? Obviously, we'll be taking lots of examples there. So for each and every word, we'll be taking like at least 3 to 4 examples in each and everything that will suffice your validation in your answers case. So this is about your 10th chapter. And we'll be saying about different theories of this growth and development. Okay? Yeah. And next one here is very important, menarche and menopause. Menarche is nothing but when this reproductive age starts in male and female is called as menarche. And menopause is normally will be there in female, not in male. That means after certain age, that is normally after 45 years, there is stopping of menstrual cycles. That means women will not able to reproduce another young person after this 45 years. That stage is called as menopause. So during that time, lots of problems women will face. So what are the problems? What are the reasons? Why it happens? What is the impact? Everything that we have to see there. And next one here is in your geography, you'll be studying about this theories called as Marxist theories, Malthusian theories, demographic transition theories, right? So can you recall that? What Marxist says, what Malthusian says? Population growth in arithmetic progression. Yeah. What is that? Malthusian theory. Okay, so whatever we study in your geography, again the same theories we'll be studying here. Okay, same theories, nothing we are going to add anything here. And next one here is fecundity, fertility, natality and mortality. You know about mortality, right? What is mortality? Death rate, right? So we have maternal mortality, we have infant mortality. So what is the life? Okay, so that is the thing that we'll study about this mortality. And natality is nothing but birth. That is nothing but what is the birth rate. Okay, everything that we'll see. And these two are very, very important. Fecundity and fertility. Okay, so I'll tell you a small example to understand this, and after this I'll wind up. So what is fecundity? So normally a girl will become mature, that is nothing but the reproductive age starts in women at normally 12 to 13 years, and till 45 years she will be in reproductive age. That means within this age she can give birth. Okay, that is called as reproductive age of women. So here fecundity is nothing but the ability of women to give birth is called as fecundity. Okay, so within this age, so what is the ability of women to give birth is called as fecundity. And next one is fertility. Fertility is nothing but, or practically, how many children woman is giving birth. That is called as fertility. Okay, so what is the total fertility rate in India? TFR, this was the question 2024 prelims. So normally we have 2.1. And if you compare with our South India and North India is having more and South India is having less. And in Kerala it is less than 1.5. Yes or no? So here we are going to see about what is fecundity and what is fertility. So even though women have ability to give birth, why they are limiting themselves to 1 or 2? Yes or no? Women are not giving birth. Earlier, if you go to your grandmother generation or great grandmother generation, how many children they used to give birth? More than even 12. My great grandmother gave birth to 12. We have 12 grandfathers. And all are boys only, no girls. I know that happened. Because of that only we have very large family. So, now people, they want only 1 or 2, but not more than 2. Yes or no? Why? What are the reasons? More entertainment. So all these things that we'll see in our classes, okay? So what is happening? What are the reasons? Why it is happening? We'll see lots of case studies, lots of examples, okay? Yeah, so this is about your biology part. Only 9th, 10th and 11th you will be having biology part. And this 12th chapter is about applications, where we'll use this knowledge of anthropology. For example, in sports, for example, in nutrition, for example, in defense, forensic anthropology. So how many of you have this habit of watching CID? CID. You need this knowledge, and I want that knowledge in this forensic anthropology. And you'll get repeated questions in that forensic anthropology. And if you're choosing for IPS, so how many of you want to get into only IPS? Only IPS. If you keep your optional, that is your service preference first IPS, your question will be that. So if you are choosing anthropology as your optional and if you are opting for IPS as your first preference, the questions will be there on this forensic anthropology case. So how can you use your anthropology knowledge in chasing of cases, in investigation? So for that it is very useful. And we'll be seeing about paternity diagnosis. Who is your father? That cases are there a lot in the news, right? So how we can use this anthropology knowledge for dealing with this kind of paternity diagnosis and genetic counseling and DNA in diseases. Okay. So this is about your paper 1. I hope you got some idea regarding what is there in your paper 1, right? So paper 1 is about entirely society and culture, and you will be having your biology part. Clear? And I hope you got knowledge regarding how to write your answers and how you have to make your notes. What is value addition part and about book list. Any doubts, guys? Online students, any doubts? Devana, any doubt? Devana, Anushree, Jaya, మ్యామ్ ఆంథ్రోపాలజీకి మీరు ప్రొవైడ్ చేసే మెటీరియల్ ఒక్కటే సరిపోతుందా మ్యామ్, లేకపోతే అడిషనల్గా మీరు చెప్పిన బుక్ లిస్ట్ కూడా? సో నో నీడ్ ఆఫ్ రిఫరింగ్ ఎనీ అదర్ బుక్. ఐ విల్ బి గివింగ్ ఎంటైర్ A to Z notes in my class this time. Any doubts, anyone? Anushree, Dediba, Kishore, Anushree, Shivlal, Devana, Lakshman, Saumya, Usha, Shreyas, Kishore, Guru, Nandini, Dhanashree, Apurva, Somesh, Akhila. Anyone, any doubts? Only IAS. So if you have any doubts, please let me know. So offline students, yeah. And this course going to be started from 25th, and timings will be normal evening timings. It will be like 5 to 7 or 6 to 8. Normally I'll take 2 hours of class every day, and in my class concept clarity will be there for 100% sure, and you have to maintain separate notes for paper 1 and paper 2, and you have to bring maps and as well as at least 3 color pens to my class. Okay, at least 3 color pens you have to bring, and there will be dictation, and I will be not giving very lengthy notes. My notes will be very concised, and I will be giving you the mostly flow charts, and you have to bring India map and as well as world maps, empty political maps. At least 20 India maps and 15 world maps you have to bring. So we will be doing that work of mapping in the class itself. I will not giving you any extra work, and every day there will be answer writing practice. On Saturday there will be test. Okay, so this will be the mode of my classes, and whenever I will be starting the class, so first 10 minutes will be the revision of earlier class, and last 10 minutes will be the recap of that present day's class. Okay, so there is no need of repeated revisions after you once leave this class. Clear? Any doubts, anyone? You can do. Yeah, you can leave, guys.